This is Steve Blackman, and you're listening to the Interactive Interview.
Interactive Wrestling Radio. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Interactive Interview on the interactiveinterview.com. I'm James Walsh, joined as always by Daniel Edler, with our special guest, Steve Blackman. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. What have you been up to lately?
Oh, well, since I left there, I don't know, I bought into a gym down in New Jersey. I was out in L.A. for a while, doing some things out there. I had my neck worked on. That's one reason I stopped wrestling for a while. I had some bad bone spurs and some nerve damage and some nerve problems in there. So, no, those few things pretty much took up most of my time. I moved back to Pennsylvania from Florida. I'm staying fairly busy.
What part of New Jersey did you open the gym at?
It's about 20 minutes northwest of Atlantic City.
Oh, okay, because I'm from New Jersey originally. Okay. Now we're going to get to the more anal retentive part where we actually go in order. The first question I have for you is, were you a wrestling fan growing up?
I watched it off and on. I watched it periodically.
Can you take this one?
So, you say you watched it on and off, but who were some of your favourites when you did watch it?
Well, when I was younger, I liked watching Snuka. He used to do a lot of, flying and some crazy stuff. I thought he and Blackman used to have a lot of good matches. Even some of the other guys that weren't much older. When I used to watch Morocco, Valentine, a lot of those guys. I didn't really have one particular favorite. I just, watched it overall, and I liked a lot of the guys.
You said you wasn't an avid fan or whatnot, but what made you actually want to get into wrestling?
I don't know. I was playing sports all my life. I just got tired of playing baseball, football, or whatever. I just got more into doing karate and lifting weights than anything else. So I just became more obsessed with those two things, and kind of parlayed into wrestling. I thought, I want to go to wrestling school and kind of just focus on both there, and that's kind of what I ended up doing.
What wrestling school did you go to?
It was in Milford, Connecticut. Dave Schultz had a school there. I went to the one run by Tony Altimore. So they both had one out of the same building, but I went to the one Tony Altimore ran.
You mentioned a second ago weightlifting, but of course something that listeners might not know about you before your WWE days is that I read up that you was a weightlifting award holder, bench pressing 585 pounds. Is that true?
Yeah, I used to go to a lot of lifting competitions. I used to go to a lot of curling competitions, benching competitions, things like that when I was like 18, 19, 20, in that range. When I was 19, I benched 585. And I had some curling records when I was 18 and 19. I don't know if they've been broken or not. They were like Eastern USA records that combined like 7 states, or people from like 7 or 8 states there, and those, to my knowledge, I think they still stand, but I don't hold me to that.
And another thing that I read while doing research for the interview that people might not know is that I read that you also suffered from malaria in 1989. Is that true as well?
Yeah, that was 1989.
Yeah, 1989, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I had dysentery and a bit of malaria or something like that when I was over in Africa. I came back, and I started getting back to normal, and I ended up developing some infection in my stomach that they couldn't figure out what it was, and I was on my deathbed for a couple of years, and it took me a couple more years to get my stamina back, and that's pretty much why I was out of wrestling from like 89 till 96. I was just screwed up for a long time.
At what point did you make your comeback, and with what companies did you work for before you went to the WWE?
Well, I started wrestling in '86. I wrestled, in the States for about a year and a half, doing a lot of small independent shows. Then I was in Japan for a little while. Then I was up in Canada for a year and a half, and up there we wrestled every day. Came back, did some more independence and so on, and then I was going to start with WWF, and I gave my word that I'd come over and wrestle in Africa for a 3-week tour, so went over there and ended up getting sick and screwing up my the whole reason I got into wrestling was to get to WWF, and ended up putting that off for years.
When that actually happened, how did that come about?
Which, you mean the Africa trip?
Yeah.
When I was up in Canada, one of the guys I wrestled with up there set it up, and about half a dozen of us went over on that trip, and I said, well, I told you months ago I'd go, so I'll go, and ended up getting sick over there, and screwed me up for years, just because I wanted to stick to my word. But somehow, fortunately, I got over it after years, and then I put up a ring and started working out all the time in there until I, tried to go back with WWF, and fortunately, it worked out for a while.
How did signing with the WWE come about?
You mean when I got back in?
Yeah, like who contacted you to bring you in?
Well, I actually called some good friends of mine because I had been out of the ring for 6 years or whatever at this point. So after working out in the ring and sharpening up my skills and so on, I called Bulldog, Davey Boy. I called Tillman, and I talked with Brett, some of those guys, and had them put in a word for me to get me back in because it was I knew it was going to be hard to get back in because I was out of the ring for 6 years. So I ended up having to go through I got a week training camp with them and a couple weeks of trying out and so on until I got back in.
When you did make your on-television debut, you entered as a planted fan in the crowd, and whose idea was that, and did you enjoy that kind of debut?
Yeah, I liked it. It was a little different. I liked it. I think I thought it came off half decent. Just coincidentally, it happened to work out 10 miles from where I live. So it was basically a hometown crowd and so on. But it was just coincidence that worked out like that.
Of course, during your career, you worked a lot with Ken Shamrock, both with him and feuding against him, including at one point a Lions Den match. What was it like working with Ken? And out of your long time, your long-standing feuds and your working with him, what would be your favourite match?
Well, I've had quite a few matches with Ken. I like the Lions Den match a bit. The only thing with that, I wish the cage was a little bigger. But I like doing that. We had some other decent matches. We had some decent hardcore matches. We had the parking lot street fight match. I wish I had more room, higher, ceiling and so on to move in there. But for the most part, it was all right. I don't know. I could do just about any. I could be willing to do any match with Ken. In a cage, out of a cage, in a parking lot, whatever. It's I don't know. It just kind of fits both of our styles, so it just seems comfortable.
Yeah. Of course, out of the ring now, you're doing the ground and pound gear with Ken at gmpgear.com. How did that come about, and are you enjoying doing that sort of thing?
Well, yeah, some friends of mine started that. They're from Atlantic City, three guys, and then they asked Ken and I to come aboard to help promote it and so on. So, it's just interesting fighting concept. Every time you watch the fights, people always say ground and pound them, ground and pound them. So those guys decide to take it and put it on a shirt. So, they have a decent clothing line. So lots of the fighters buy them and wear them. It's just kind of a cool saying and cool logo.
And, of course, assuming that you can't make your return to wrestling in the end, will GMP be like the sort of thing that you go into full-time, or your gym, or what sort of thing have you got? What plans have you got?
I haven't made up my mind what I'm going to do yet. I was hoping to make a decision this month because I had my neck done about 3.5 months ago. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't have any more nerve problems, and I thought about getting in the ring for 3 or 4 weeks and see how I feel, and maybe call, Titan and see if they want to do something. If I don't do that, some friends of mine and I might open up a nightclub or something in Atlantic City because I'm down there all the time. I don't know. I've kind of got a few things up in the air. I haven't made a decision, though.
You were part of the ill-fated Brawl for It All. You had one fight against Mark Merrill and you got injured. What went wrong?
I was just training for the upcoming fights, and one of the guys I was wrestling with, who was a friend of mine, he's a big guy, about 6'4", 320 pounds, whatever. I had him shooting on me over and over, and one time when he sat, after he shot on me, he sat in the side of my leg and bent my knee down to the floor and ripped the cartilage in my knee when I was training for it the following week after I fought Miro.
Can I ask who that was?
It was nobody in wrestling that you would know. It was a collegiate wrestler.
Oh, okay. Didn't take that from.
Of course, in your time in WWE, you were one of the leading hardcore champions and really solidified the belt. What are your opinions on the belt, and do you think that it was a bad idea by WWE to remove it?
I don't know. I don't know if it was a bad idea. It seems like with what they did with it in the beginning, Cactus had it, and then, lots of guys, they passed it back and forth, and Bob Holly had credibility to it, and then Al Snow did, and then I. had it for a long time. I tried to be as creative as possible and use weapons in every aspect or ways people had never seen. Like every time I went out there, I don't know, it seemed like everything that, could have been done with it seemed to have been done. I don't know, sometimes I think that people miss it. Sometimes they get a good pop out of, using a lot of those gimmicks out there. They throw them out there occasionally, but I know it's not near as regular as it used to be.
Listener Paul Banker would like to know what was going through your mind before the match at SummerSlam 2000 against Shane McMahon when you flew off the scaffolding with that huge elbow drop to regain the hardcore title, to retain the hardcore title.
My main thing going through my mind was don't slip off the poles because I was all sweaty when I was trying to hold myself up there. I remember that specifically because I had been out there wrestling for 15 minutes, my hands were wet, and I just wanted, you're just standing up there and, there was nothing straight down, below us, so I just didn't want to slip off and take a straight down spill.
How did you end up tagging with Al Snow?
I don't know whose idea that was. It kind of came off because our personas are so different. He being, comedy and me being straight-faced, a lot of stuff we did ended up being funny. It came off well it went well for a few months, but I don't know whose idea it was.
At what point did you actually get your WWE release, and was there any reason given?
Well, I pretty much just stopped because of my neck. I mean, it was their decision also because they knew I'd been wrestling with bad neck problems for the last year or two I was in there, just wrestling with headaches every single night and so on. Every time I landed, my head was killing me, and it was a mutual decision. But they felt too that they didn't want to stick me in the ring anymore unless I could tell them, 100% certainty that I wasn't going to be getting headaches anymore and didn't have any nerve problems down my arm and so on. So that's pretty much where we are.
Do you still watch the WWE product anymore? And if you do, what are your thoughts on it?
I watch it off and on. I say I watch it 50% of the time. I think some of it's still good. I think some of it needs some work, but I could pretty much say that about anything. I don't know. I guess it seems a little different to me, and because a lot of the guys are gone from when I was in there, they brought so many new faces in. But well, may I ask you this? How do you feel about it?
Well, I'm like you. I kind of watch it 50% of the time, and I also echo your sentiments that there's some things going right and some things going wrong. I feel maybe they need to. Would you agree with the fact that maybe they need to use the utilization of talent slightly in a different way, should we say, and maybe change around who's on top and who's not on top and whatnot, and who the titles are on and who the big feuds are at with and such.
Yeah, I agree with that to a certain point, although I look at it like, what group of guys do you have in there that can carry, that can
draw money.
Draw money and, have that heavy weight on their shoulders, getting thrust up there, how many guys in there can carry that load, and you're kind of limited on what group of guys can do that. So, you have to watch what they're doing too. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of wrestlers in there. There's always been a lot of guys that were good wrestlers, but there's only a certain amount of top talent, guys that are fantastic on the microphone and good workers.
Right. Usually it's one or the other. Usually if you're a great worker, you can't really talk that well. So, I mean,
right. Fortunately they had Austin in there and Rock, who were great talkers and great workers.
Right.
Talking of WWE, if you were going to sort of put your 2 cents in about about the Royal Rumble, who would you have come out on top during that match?
That's a tough call.
I mean, it's been rumored on the internet a lot with different names coming up left, right, and centre, and practically everybody that's been involved in the match has come up at some point as being the eventual winner. But I mean, just wondering who you might think, sort of thing.
I don't know. I kind of have it narrowed down to about 3 or 4 people in my mind, but I don't have one person in mind.
Who would those 3 or 4 people be?
Well, I mean, naturally, one of the top 3 would have to be Goldberg.
Right.
Billy Gunn's, returning after being injured for half a year again.
Right.
Who else do I have in mind for that? I thought.
Would you agree with that? Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's all right. I was just thinking of a couple of names, but those were the 2 main ones. I had 3 or 4 in mind when I was watching it and thinking about it the other night, but I'm just can't remember who the one was. What were you going to ask me?
Would you agree with the fact that maybe, say, John Cena or Chris Benoit?
Yeah, they're a possibility. Actually, one of those 2 guys was one of them that I thought of the other day. But yeah, they're definitely a possibility. Cena's improved dramatically over the last couple of years. He's come a long way. And Benoit's always been a fantastic worker.
Right.
Talking of workers that have improved or workers that are around now, are there anybody, if you do get back in the ring, is there anybody in particular on the indie scene or in WWE that you'd like to get in the ring with?
I actually thought it'd be interesting to do some hardcore matches with like Van Dam, just because a lot of the crazy stuff he does back and forth. Some of the other new guys in there. There's quite a different, pretty good different group of people in there. So there'll be a lot of guys. I mean, I just thought of that with Van Dam when he started. After I did, I would have liked to have worked some hardcore matches with him. Regular matches. I don't know, there's even some of the other top guys I never got to work with when I was in there, that I would like to do that with if I ever, got back in there.
And without attempting to kind of dominate the interview, but if, say, you do get back and you decide you want to go at this again and Titan aren't interested, have you considered the option of, say, TNA or Ring of Honor and groups along that sort of line?
I've considered a few other things. I have a few other options. I don't know. I'm just indecisive on all of them right now. Like I said, I had Japan. I had in England. I thought about TNA, although I haven't talked to Jeff or any of those guys down there about it. So I heard, one of my friends told me that the option was there on that one, but I haven't. I'm not leaning more toward one than the other. No. I mean, if I came back, if I actually try to get back in now, naturally my first choice would try to be with Titan. I would talk to them and see if they'd want to do something before I went anywhere else. But besides them, I'm not leaning more toward one than the other.
Have you actually seen any NWA TNA or no?
I've never watched them, nope.
Oh, okay.
And just in case anybody out there, say you do get back in the ring and whatnot, and anybody is sitting out there desperate to book you and whatnot, how can they find out about how booking you and whatnot? And do you have a website?
I don't have a website. There's a lot of websites out there for me. I don't know who started them all. I have no association with any of them. Basically, I guess if they really want to get a hold of me, they could go through the Ground and Pound website. Those guys would relay information to me, or, doing interviews like this, they could always go through a guy, get my number through you guys or something like that.
Okay.
Excellent. Before we go to the word associations, I have a question. You were talking about the hardcore title earlier, and one of the guys that we had on recently, which unfortunately he's no longer with us, boasted about his involvement in the hardcore title. What was your relationship like with Crash Holly?
I got along with him well. We didn't hang together or anything like that, but I got along with him. He seemed like a decent guy. Seemed like he had a good head on his shoulders at the time. I don't know what happened to him, down the road. He was, he had a certain act with him, certain, charismatic look about him and so on, when he was out there. I think he probably went as far as he could have in the business, but I don't know what he ended up doing something stupid there at the end, I guess.
And do you have any thoughts on any of the other recent pro wrestling deaths, or even the non-so-recent ones like British Bulldog and such?
Well, British Bulldog and Brian Pillman, some of those guys were some of my best friends, because I started with them, many years ago. Well, it's happened to a lot of guys. They get hurt, they start taking painkillers to stay on the road, they keep staying addicted to them, they keep taking more and more of them. But with me, even though those guys are some of my best friends, you don't get a whole lot of sympathy from me. To me, it's a matter of willpower. You're taking way too much. It's time to stop. If you need to get help, go get help, or just stop taking so many pills. That's just the way I am with things. I think if you're an alcoholic, I don't want to hear it's hereditary or anything like that. Just stop drinking. I'm cut and dry like that. What the problem is. Stop it.
Right.
Exactly. Of course, now we'd like to roll in some word associations, if that's okay with you. We'll give you a name, and you can either just roll a couple of choice words about them, or if you've got a story, then that's fine.
All right.
Is that okay? Yeah. Okay. First name on our list is Jeff Jarrett.
Charismatic.
Owen Hart.
The pinnacle of ribbing people.
Darren Drozdov.
Good guy.
Shane McMahon.
Good guy.
Sean Waltman.
Needs to straighten himself out.
Grandmaster Sexay.
What was that?
Grandmaster Sexay. Brian Lawler.
Needs to straighten himself out, too.
Al Snow.
Decent guy. Looks out for himself.
And I couldn't find his name. I couldn't find his real name or whatnot. But the midget in the cheese costume during the whole head cheese gimmick.
The midget in the cheese costume. What do we do to him?
Is when you did the move that America Most Wanted in TNA now called a death sentence. It was the leg drop off the top rope.
Vegemanic.
Yeah.
Oh, don't know. Carry an ice bag with you, buddy. I don't know.
Ken Shamrock.
Great submission fighter. Good friend.
I can chime in with one. Bret Hart.
Good technician in the ring. Decent on the microphone. Looks out for himself.
And the final one that I've got, I don't know if James has got any more, but the final one I've got is Vince McMahon.
Vince? All business.
And James, do you have any more you'd like to add?
Sure. How about Brian Pillman? I know you talked about him earlier.
Brian was a guy, he was a good friend of mine, too. He worked hard in the business. He worked hard at the microphone stuff. He became good at it. He was athletic. Just let himself get carried away and didn't have enough willpower to stop what he was doing.
Before we close out, I just had to ask this question. You started in the business when it was kind of old school, and it was developing into what we now call whatever it is today, I guess new school, I guess would be the proper phrase. What is your opinion of the change from the more old school style to the new school style, the hardcore, all the stuff that's changed, the more adult-based entertainment?
Well, I think it's just over the years, the bar keeps getting raised. People have seen the same things for so many years, so you have to try to come up with new things to do, whether it's with, hardcore gimmicks, without gimmicks. You just got to try to be flashier, try to come up with different catchphrases. You just got to keep doing new things. People get bored if they keep seeing the same thing over and over, so you just have to find out, figure out new ways to incorporate it or new things to do. And so I think just over the years, the bar just keeps getting raised, and it keeps changing for that reason.
Do you think it'll ever reach a point when it has to go back to the old school style, or because that's one of the conversations that people were talking about shortly after the Owen Hart incident, that things are getting a little too far?
Well, I mean, it might regress some, but I don't think it's going to be a dramatic change. That's just my opinion.
And before we finish up, do you have any messages, any words for your fans?
No, just, stay tuned. Stay tuned whether I come back or not. Keep checking out the show. The guys are working hard out there.
Excellent. Thank you very much for this interview. We really can't thank you enough. Stay tuned for more from the Interactive Interview.
Enjoying what you're hearing? Be sure and check out WrestlingEpicenter.com on social media at Facebook.com/WrestlingEpicenter, on Twitter at JamesEpicenter, and of course, WrestlingEpicenter.com for 24-hour news updates, our interview archives, and all the other information you've come to expect from the Wrestling Epicenter. Enjoying what you're hearing? Be sure and check out WrestlingEpicenter.com on social media at Facebook.com/WrestlingEpicenter, on Twitter at JamesEpicenter, and of course, WrestlingEpicenter.com for 24-hour news updates, our interview archives, and all the other information you've come to expect from the Wrestling Epicenter.
This is Mad Mikey, and you're listening to the Interactive Interview. I'm not mad, because I'm interactive!
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Interactive Interview on the interactiveinterview.com.
Courtesy of ProWrestling.com.
Courtesy of ProWrestling.com. You're right.
Because I knew that you wouldn't say it.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just had this inkling and this feeling that I should just jump in and just speak, so I did.
Yes, and to be honest with you, I didn't say it earlier in the interview either, but that's because I was half asleep when we started.
Mr. 360, Steve Blackman. I don't know, I just made that.
Well, I did that once before with Gerald Clark when I just kind of had woken up. and it didn't work out as well as I had hoped.
We remember.
We remember. Well, actually, I edited it, so nobody actually got to hear it.
Yeah, well.
But I guess what I just found today,
What is that?
I've been talking to you online about making our upcoming interview, our 1 hour interview. I mean, not a 1 hour interview, our 1 year anniversary.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Guess what I just found on a tape for our 1 year anniversary?
Oh, yeah. What?
The entire beginning of our Buff Bagwell preview.
Oh, my God.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, my God.
That entire conversation, I might put it on that show. And it'd just be hysterical.
Jesus, you're going to have to show me it first, man.
Okay.
Oh, my God.
I think our voices have changed since then, too.
That's what they probably have. Just so that we're clearer and stuff now.
Right.
And the fact that we're also older by a whole year might make a difference a tiny bit.
Right, I think so. You sounded younger, I sounded younger. I'm listening to myself, I'm like, wow, this is impressive. We sounded a lot better now.
I thought you could say we sounded a lot better then.
No.
That'd be bad. Maybe we should get Barry Buchanan on the show just for a quick 5 minutes and just say, look, you was our first interview a year ago. Like, how you doing?
Right. Well, it's like when you lose your virginity the first time.
Well, how can you lose it more than one time?
Oh, yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah.
So, when you do, you always want to...
Listening to me in specific for a second, I was like, hang on a second.
Well, what I'm saying is, when you do that, and, 10 years later, when you have more experience, you want to go back and show them what you now can do.
Okay.
We've gotten much better now.
Improving on the past memories.
Yep.
Oh, but, yeah, it's been a year since we spoke to Mr. Buchanan, so I'm sure he's probably done something in that time. Don't know if it's all wrestling related, because I haven't seen much about him wrestling related, but, he'll probably done something.
Yeah, we could probably get in contact with him and say, hey, what's up?
Are we going to announce who's for our 1 year anniversary show or not?
Sure, why not?
Okay, go on then, since you booked it.
The franchise, Shane Douglas.
There we go.
Now,
So that'll be soon.
I'm rather nervous about this, actually, because he's calling us. And 9 times out of 10, it does not always work out as well as we hope.
Exactly.
But we're going to try.
Yeah.
And we're hopeful.
Exactly. And I'll just make sure that I keep the phone near me, because obviously I don't particularly want to delay it any further by having one of my housemates pick up the phone and not understand you, as they normally do.
Yeah, I talked to the girl, and she's like, who?
Yeah.
I said, Daniel. Oh, okay.
It's a choice of 3 people that she lives with, and I'm guessing that the other 2 guys don't speak to many American people on the phone every few days. Just a guess. So yeah, you kind of think if someone American picked up the phone, you kind of hand it straight over to me without even needing to hear who they're asking for. But okay, maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe you're wrong. So, Royal Rumble. We talked about it in the Steve Blackman interview. We talked about it in the Steve Corino interview as well, I believe. But here we are now. We obviously recorded that a few days before the Rumble. And here we are now, a few days after.
And who were Steve's picks? Billy Gunn?
I don't think he picked Billy Gunn. I think he made a point that he was going to be in there.
Yeah, he still said that, Billy Gunn, he wouldn't be surprised.
I think he said Cena, too. He wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, exactly. So, 2 guys who, of course, didn't win it, given that Benoit won it.
Yes, Chris Benoit won it. I've seen both positive and negative feedbacks on the actual Rumble match. I don't think the Rumble match was the problem.
No, the Rumble match wasn't necessarily the problem.
But I do disagree with some of the booking on it, because why would one of the French guys be in it and not the other?
Because, I believe that they did a match. Well, I know they did on SmackDown, the reason that they've got, only Rikishi was in and not Scotty 2 Hotty was because they had a match against each other. So it's probably something to do with the match. Although I haven't watched Raw in a couple of weeks, I've just read results, and I can't say I particularly paid much attention to Rob Conway and Rene Dupree. So, but of course, Sylvain Grenier is still out with an injury, long-term injury. So Rob Conway's the full-time deputy now in La Resistance.
Well,
I'm guessing there was some reason.
my only problem with that is that they had him in there instead of Stevie Richards. I would have rather seen Stevie in there.
Yeah, well, I believe it's probably just to further the fact that he is, one of the guys that WWE want people to watch in the future, I'd imagine. He'll probably break from his French gimmick at some point and just go on a sort of a John Cena type run, I'd imagine. But anyway,
hopefully he can get a promo without pissing me off.
Honestly, that's probably the intention of his promos would probably to piss him off.
Who, John Cena?
No, not John Cena.
He plays a babyface, but he pisses me off.
I thought you were talking about the wrong.
Yes.
I need to breathe. Okay.
Yes.
Never mind. What I was going to say was I did a scathing kind of like column rant thing on the Royal Rumble itself, on the pay-per-view itself. And basically, I ran through everything else that I'm going to go through, of course, in a minute. But on the Rumble match itself, my one problem was the fact of two pieces of booking. A, they had the whole Kane Undertaker situation too early, in my opinion. I think they should have switched the timing of that with the timing of Randy Orton and Mick Foley, the elimination there.
Right.
You have Foley come in, have Kane come in when he came in, have Foley come in earlier, have Kane stay in the event for longer.
I think it should have been longer, too.
Exactly.
I think they should have even gone as far as cutting off the lights.
Yeah.
And having the lights come back on when you hear the drum, and maybe showing something like having the Druids come out like I suggested. I think that would have been just freaked the hell out of them.
They'll probably end up doing something like that along the lines, because they did something like that on Raw, but they're going to just kind of extend it and get it longer and longer.
I wouldn't be surprised if they extended it either in No Way Out, which is, I don't know if it's a Raw or SmackDown pay-per-view.
SmackDown. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Kane won't be there then.
Yeah. So they killed that one.
So they might stretch it to WrestleMania then when he actually makes his first appearance.
No, he'll be in a match by then. He'll be in the Kane versus Sting match, definitely by then.
They got to give him time to grow out his hair, though.
Yeah, well, we've had a good few months now. Since,
What, the Survivor Series, was it?
yeah, that did.
Well, I haven't gotten a haircut since Survivor Series. I don't think I'm ready to show up on TV as the long-haired Undertaker.
Yeah, but by the same token, I'm sure. Does your hair normally grow as fast as his?
Actually, it is almost shoulder length, which I need a haircut.
Because
I look like a caveman.
how fast his hair must grow due to the fact that he used to be able to grow his beard in such a way so quickly. The long kind of extended, oh my god, this is longer than my forearm beard. That Chris Jericho often habits. But I thought that could have been possibly switched. Although then again, by the same token, that would have given the problem that it wouldn't have put Randy Orton over as much, because he was the second longest guy in the Rumble. Behind it was Chris Benoit. And I also disagree with the fact that they had Big Show as the runner-up, because everybody who's got half a clue would realise that they're not going to give Big Show the Royal Rumble when this stage of his career. He's not a credible going to be in the WrestleMania main event at this stage in his career. So I think when obviously Kurt Angle was thrown over as number of the third from final elimination, everybody pretty much knew that it was locked that Chris Benoit was going to win, which is why I would have switched it up and had the final three as...
I still would have used that exit for Benoit. I mean, for the Big Show. I would have still set it up that same way, though, because that was a very inventive way that he was eliminated.
Oh.
I give it that. I do think Big Show is believable, because he's a monster. Who's going to be able to pick him up and throw him over the top that easily?
Oh, yeah, for sure. But by the same token...
They could have had Benoit, and, they should have done the same thing how Benoit eliminates, and Kurt Angle, I don't know, tosses him over and does his little twirling with his arms out, spin, and then Benoit comes up from behind and drop kicks him over, or something like that.
Something like that, exactly. Because, to be honest, if they're going to leave the last two that are going to wrestle for a few minutes, then if it's Benoit and Big Show at this stage in their creative careers, then there's absolutely no way that Big Show's going to win.
Well, what do you keep saying the stage of his career? What are you thinking?
I think along the lines of he's been WWE champion before, and he's now gone down to US title level. He's been in the WrestleMania main event before, and he's now down to US title level. So he's not. If he's going to get another resurgence, which it won't be for a while. So Kane had a time when he was like not Mick Carding, but not in the main event picture, and that's where Big Show is at the moment. So that's what I mean by that. But by the same time, if they were going to leave the last two, they should have left someone in there that could have been a credible threat, so that people were still there thinking, ooh, who's going to win? Which is why I would have left either Angle in there with him as a maybe, Cena, Kane or Goldberg, because there's a possibility on all those people, in my opinion.
True, I think you're right.
So there we go. Those are my two problems with the Royal Rumble match. Apart from that, I really enjoyed it, especially the bits with I like Silver. I keep going to call him Silver and Grenier. I like the bit with Rene Dupree when he came in and just danced. That was really quite entertaining.
The cat thing was stupid.
Yeah, no, I like that. I really like that.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
It was funny, I'll give it that, but I just think it was... He's capable of more than that, I think.
He's not the greatest wrestler in the world, obviously. And his mic skills seem to have... He's either out of practice or they deteriorated. But... Ooh. Okay, hang on, stop recording a second. Phone's off.
The British are coming! The British are coming!
Hello? I'm just doing an interview at the moment.
It's Chris Benoit! No, he's not British.
I'm watching it.
Who's British? Davey Smith is dead.
Is he in there?
Is it the David Boy Smith? No, he's dead. It's the Dynamite Kid! It is William Regal! He's a man's man! Who else could it be? Who else could it be? Who else could it be? I don't know any British wrestlers. Doug Williams.
Hmm?
I don't know.
You're in a conversation with yourself?
Yes, I am.
Oh my god.
But, back to the topic at hand, I think you're right. I think his mic skills have diminished. I think his character isn't as over. And I think that stems from, in WCW, he was given a more serious role mixed in with his goofiness. Which means people had to listen to him because he was the commissioner. And now they're just like, he's just out there.
Yeah.
And he's...
No real reason for him being there. And at the same time, he's also replaced Miss Jones in WCW with Lamont in WWE. The mini-go of the week.
Yeah. I'm just trying to determine which one looked better.
But, yeah, no, Lamont's cool. I think he's fun. He was the guy that played Bruce the Butler for the APA. And such. He's done a couple of things. But out of the whole, the whole Cat's gimmick, etc. type thing, the person that's coming off the most, the worst, I'd say, in the long run is Lamont, because, let's face it, no one's really going to take him as a serious wrestler after this, at least in WWE at least. But,
yeah.
Well, anyway, so he probably only get the Spike Dudley of the SmackDown type role anyway, so.
Spike Dudley's on SmackDown now?
No.
Okay.
I'll say
Why, does he get bump?
I don't know, but he's small, so. He'd probably be given that. But, of course, talking of small people, the Cruiserweight, apparently at WrestleMania 20, there was a consideration of having a Cruiserweight match in which they'd, throw in 10 Cruiserweights, who were all listed, and the possibility of Dean Malenko coming out of retirement, and I think his name is Psychosis being brought in as a competitor in it, and Jeff Hardy being brought back, I believe, with the ring. Of course, of the competitors listed in the possibility for the Battle Royal, one of them wasn't Ultimo Dragon, so be that as it may, I think the one reason he signed with WWE was so he can wrestle at WrestleMania 20 and get a big payoff and wrestle at Madison Square Garden, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen.
I like the Ultimo Dragon, I just don't think they know how to use somebody like that.
Yeah, apparently Vince doesn't like his style, so if Vince doesn't like his style, he's not going to get used.
He got over in WCW pretty well about 5 years ago, so...
Maybe
6 years.
The problem is he doesn't want you on TV as much, then there's not really going going to be any room for you to get over.
Right, true. Well, it all comes down to who they want to succeed and who they don't. And obviously they don't want him to succeed.
Whereas they do want someone like John Cena or Randy Orton.
Right. And one of those is good, and one of them is not.
I like both of them.
I like Randy Orton. I think he has a future. John Cena, I think, is going to burn out like vanilla ice.
Nah. He won't burn out.
Yeah, he will.
He's too in tune with the
yeah, he's too in tune.
Population.
He's in tune currently, but what will happen in 2 years when the fad ends? It's going to be a problem, because that's my problem with music gimmicks. You identify yourself too closely to a music genre, and if that genre loses popularity, you lose popularity. See Man Mountain Rock? Man Mountain Rock, who was Big Dick Dudley. I think it was Big Dick Dudley. Was he that or Max Payne? I don't recall. Anyway, he passed away. I think he did anyway. If he's not dead, I'm sorry. I don't mean to offend you. Don't take your pulse. I'm sure if you hear this, you're still alive.
Well, if he's Big Dick Dudley, then Big Dick Dudley died.
Yes, but I don't think he was Big Dick Dudley. He might have been Max Payne.
In which case, he's not dead.
Right. Which is what I'm trying to figure out.
I see. But either way, he's dead or alive, wanted.
He's wanted.
Dead or alive, yeah. Don't sing. Please.
Okay. Thank you. You weren't supposed to say that. You were supposed to go,
I'd probably... Normally it's you that manage to turn people off by singing and making high people high-pitched noise and whatnot. I'll leave it to the master.
Alrighty, okay. So.
The rest of the card, we're going to do what WWE did with the rest of the card, and
rush through it.
Gloss over it.
Okay.
Pretend like it's not even really happening. Eddie Guerrero versus Chavo Guerrero, I really quite liked it. Big Feud, they should have put on a longer match. Hopefully they do something towards it.
That was what, a 2-minute match?
No, that lasted about 7 minutes.
That was, I didn't even think it lasted that long, because I got to go to the bathroom and came back.
About 7 minutes or something like that.
Does that include or exclude the stupid ending that made no sense?
Include.
That includes it. Well, the match was probably only about 4 then.
No, about 5, I think. But yeah, the ending looked really unplanned and like it was just kind of thrown together as it happened. Because the crowd wanted it to.
And it made no sense to me.
Well, it made a bit of sense because it was like Eddie going
off, unless they make him like a psycho that pops off all the time now, that's not going to work.
Well, the whole thing was, on SmackDowns, was that he was supposed to keep his cool and not do that. And so therefore him doing it kind of makes it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Of course, before that was before that match was...
I think that was too long, though, however they did it. He should have just gone in there with a chair and just beat the shit out of everybody.
They did it too unorganized.
And he should have, thrown his arms back like Ken Shamrock used to do, and go, "Nah!"
Another gimmick infringement.
Well, that would have shown that he's a psycho, though.
Yeah, true. But I don't think it's supposed to show that it's such psycho. I think it's supposed to show that let his emotions go or something.
Right.
But I didn't watch SmackDown too carefully. I only watched a bit of it.
Well, it's hard to watch lately. Let's be honest. It's very hard.
I disagree. I was just drunk at the time.
Okay. Well, then it's even harder to watch. Or maybe it'd be easier to watch. Less painful.
Speaking of the other matches on the card, before that
we had Ric Flair and Batista against the Dudley Boys.
That was the first match.
That was dreadful.
4 minutes long.
That was dreadful. Absolutely dreadful.
It wasn't a bad match.
You're kidding me, right?
Pardon?
You're kidding me, right?
No. It wasn't a bad match in terms of how it had to be. It was like, remember RVD and Kane versus LOD?
Yeah.
How that was originally supposed to be a 7-minute match, and then it was turned into a 3-minute match, including the entrance. Well, I think that's sort of how I view the Ric Flair Batista match against the Dudleys. It was kind of like a match that would have been good if it was a bit longer, but was well short, was basically a thrown together Raw match.
They didn't tease it.
Pardon?
The ending, it was like, okay, we're wrestling, bam, it's over.
Yeah.
They didn't tease the ending. They didn't, like, get him up and have Devon clip his knee so he doesn't go through the table and something like that. They didn't tease it.
They had the 3D or something was teased, and then it never happened because Batista made the table.
Yeah, but that was like that was right at the end. I mean, it was just boom, boom.
Basically. Obviously, because it was only a 4-minute match, they couldn't tease it a huge amount, because otherwise they'd be teasing her in the beginning. But again, if it had longer, then it would have been a better match, I think. Also,
I'm not a big. I think the Dudley Boys. I think you said it on the show, and I think I agree with you. And I think they need some time off.
yeah, they're stale.
Very still.
Yeah. Glad they didn't win the title. That would have been a terrible move. But
Yeah, but Batista, that promo he cut at the beginning. Maybe Flair should teach him how to cut a promo.
well, that's the first time he's actually cut a proper promo on WWE, so as I can recall. So obviously my memory's not great, but it's the first one I can recall that he's done properly, and especially like walking down a ramp to a live crowd, as opposed to backstage or whatever. So obviously he's not quite refined his talents there yet, but he's got a good look and whatnot, so they'll push him for definite. But
That's about all he's got, though. He has no ability in the ring.
I disagree, but I don't want to get into that. We're basically glossing over these matches like WWE did.
Okay.
Another short match. Stupidly short. Rey Mysterio versus Jamie Noble.
That was ridiculously short.
Unless they're planning on giving these two like more time at No Way Out.
I would give them 14 minutes. 14 to 15 minutes, maybe more. You know,
And instead, guess how long WWE gave them?
what was it, about 3?
3 minutes.
Right, that's what I was assuming. I mean, I got up and I went pee-pee and I came back and it was over. I was like, what I miss? All I saw was the blind girl grabbed his leg. That's it.
That's pretty much it, actually. There was a couple of spots before that, and then they did obviously the 619, and then the modified West Coast pop, and couldn't. At least they done 3, and I was like, what's going on? But anyway, that match. And then of course the 2 title matches, Bob Holly versus Brock Lesnar, which I actually fell asleep for.
That was Bob Holly should not be in that high profile of the situation.
This is kind of his. You've been with the company a long time. Here's your payoff. Basically, I'd imagine.
Right. There wasn't a person that ever would have considered him winning that belt.
Oh no, definitely not. But unless he now goes on with a program with Kurt Angle about how Kurt broke his arm, which I severely doubt. Unless he does that, I'm guessing that he'll gradually fade away into mid-card status. Firstly, for that match, obviously I can't comment on it, but I've been told it's not very good. And
It wasn't bad, actually. I thought psychology-wise it wasn't bad. They gave it a little bit more time than the others. What was it, about 7 then?
I fell asleep, so it lasted about a second and a half for me.
Okay. Well, they did a good job teasing him trying to break Brock's neck. I will give it that. But it just wasn't believable enough for me. Maybe because I'm a smart, whatever you want to call me. But I was just watching and thinking, there's no way he's going to win. There's no way he's going to win. The ending was horrible. He just kind of, okay, Holly was going after him, F5. That's it.
Well, I haven't seen the match at all, so.
Shawn Michaels versus Triple H, they gave it some time. It was pretty good.
It wasn't bad, but the ending, another piece of bad booking. At the same time, if they're going to give it a last man standing gimmick to determine the best of the two, so who's better between Shawn Michaels and Triple H, then they have to give it a finish. And fair enough, either way it's going to be a bad finish that's going to...
Maybe the ending was supposed to say that they both suck.
Well, either way, fair enough, if they're going to give a victory, then A, it's going to take the title off Triple H, which isn't something they want to do. Oh, that isn't something Triple H wants booked against him for. But, and B, if they book Triple H to win, then it makes the Raw's top face look weak going into WrestleMania. So, and obviously Chris Jericho's never going to get any sort of decent push again. So if they're going to make Shawn Michaels the top face look weak, then that is again something they're not going to go down the route of. So a draw should have been a pretty predictable finish actually, but not many people thought of it. And
I actually thought it was a good decision.
It's a good decision. It was just worked so badly, and it completely killed the crowd.
if the crowd wasn't killed now, the fact they just endured Bob Holly versus Brock Lesnar, and had all the matches they were looking forward to cut down to a total of about 15 minutes, then, then the crowd was dead.
Right.
But,
they did give it an effort. I think it was actually pretty good the way they did it. I'll be honest with you, I thought it was pretty good. I was on the edge of my seat for a couple times in the match. There's no way they're going to give him the win like that. And he's up. But the referee, they did rush it a little bit. Like the referee was stopping when on their knees instead of on their feet.
Yeah.
You're supposed to wait until you get a foot planted in the ground, and then you know, okay, he's up. But,
well, that was a Royal Rumble, of course, and then we discussed the Royal Rumble match, and I didn't want to write on it. I had to pay for this one, because for a year that you have to pay for in the UK. This is one of them, and I wish I hadn't, to be honest. I wish I hadn't, I wish I hadn't. I enjoyed the Rumble match, I would pay to see that, but the rest of the card I wouldn't have paid to see. Simply because it was either too short or not worthy of being paid for, considering Shawn Michaels and Triple H had a match that was even better a few weeks ago on Raw. So, Royal Rumble match, yep, okay, that's worth paying for. Tiny bit of bad booking, but on the majority, I'd say 75% well done. Probably more, 85% well done.
I liked a lot what they did. I liked how they kept teasing the elimination of the Big Show. I think that was actually good booking. I think the Rumble match was pretty good, but I disagree with some of the actual entrants.
So would you have had to come in instead then?
I already told you I wanted Stevie Richards at the...
Yeah, anybody else?
Lance Storm, was he even in there?
No, he wasn't. Neither was Val Venus.
Well, Lance Storm is, you know, he's one of the best athletes they have, in my opinion. I don't understand why they don't push him. Is he not 8 foot tall or what?
He never has got a very good break and a very good shake of it. But they also didn't put Rosie in. They put just Hurricane in. They didn't include the Bashams, yet the Bashams are tag team champions. Yet they included Haas and Benjamin. A couple of weird entrants, but Spike Dudley was there, Cannon Fodder.
Yeah, from The Undertaker.
Kane, you mean?
What?
You mean Kane?
Well, he came out when they already had rang the bell, so when they ring the bell and people are wanting The Undertaker to come out, and Spike Dudley comes out.
Yeah, they did the bell
and then like 5 minutes later the bell rings, you know, his music plays. Or like a minute later, or something like that.
Yeah. Obviously, because they had the whole Kane and Spike Dudley thing on Raw, so that's why he came out when he did. That's why Kane chokeslammed him and stuff, but, all made sense in down, but, yep, so that's the Royal Rumble, of course. Now you want to talk about TNA.
TNA, pretty good show. Wasn't great, wasn't bad. I liked it. The finish was cool. Very cool. A classic comment made by Don West. Goldie Road blows Eric Watts and walks out. Don West makes the call of a lifetime. Ready? You whore!
Yeah, I thought it was going to be that, 'cause I read it on the report that I read about it. I read that actually the finish was apparently very good, but the match itself was diabolical, and it's also served to injure Mike TNA, giving him a broken wrist. So.
They broke his wrist?
Yeah.
Oh.
Hairline fracture or something. Broken wrist.
Oh, when Jerry put the handcuffs on him, or what?
Yep. When he was handcuffed to the...
Then give Mike the A for Effort award. Because Mike called that match. Let's be realistic, and I love Don West. I think he's very energetic. I think he pulls people into it a lot. But there's no way if Mike TNA wasn't there, but Don West would be able to do an even halfway decent job.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't. He's not a play-by-play guy. He just adds that little color.
He doesn't really know most of the wrestling people's names still, but...
Well, he's getting better. You said suplex the other week, which I went, wow! I'm impressed.
But, yeah, so I heard about that, and then I heard about Mikey Whitwreck coming in, and...
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's going to be there much.
No, apparently it's a one-off. El Leon, a bit more from him, etc. With the whole Punk
CM Punk until the De Niro thing. I would have thought if they were going to use him last night, they would have used him a hell of a lot better, to be honest.
True.
Because CM Punk.
Why?
So the reason being that he was supposed to go on a 0-1 tour. The one that
Steve Corino.
at the moment. And he was supposed to go on there, he was booked for that, and then TNA vetoed it. They said, nah, like, you're under contract, we didn't agree, okay, we want to use you on the 29th, or 28th, or whatever it is, pay-per-view. And then obviously the week after, and the week after, etc. But we really need to use you on that one. You can't go on it. So Punk cancelled to go on the 0-1 tour, and so therefore he had to cancel the whole tour in Japan, which, I mean, that tour in Japan is the reason he cancelled a couple of these bookings in Europe. And then for TNA to turn around and say, nah, you can't go over to Japan, is a bit, if they're not using him.
You don't sign a contract unless you're sure that you're going to be there every Wednesday, and that's my thing. I am a little tired of things like low key happening, where they're there 1 week and they're gone for a month. I think it's good that they're trying to, we're a legitimate company. We're on every week. If you're going to sign a contract with us, you're going to be here every week, or every week that we need you to be here, regardless of your other plans. And I think that's a good idea. I think they should find a way, and there probably isn't a way, but I'm just saying, if you're going to book these guys, and you're going to have some of them be top-notch stars like Christopher Daniels, who's known for touring Japan, you have to make sure they're going to be there on Wednesday nights when you need them.
Well, I agree and disagree. Thinking, like, putting like, a promoter's cap on, then I agree totally, because you really want your guys, if they're going to sign a contract, they're going to be there. But thinking from a wrestler's point of view, I disagree with a wrestler that isn't in WWE signing a contract, to be perfectly honest, because they're independent contractors, they can work wherever they like.
Well, you're true, that's true, but I'm still saying that TNA is trying to create a sense of legitimism by making people stick by their contracts, whereas they have contracts with guys that maybe just expired recently, that they used all of 2 times. And obviously those guys, one of the guys that was under contract was Chris Devine. He went to Puerto Rico, they never called him once, as far as I know. I think he had one dark match with Sonny Siaki after his initial run, and that's it.
Well, I just think that if TNA are going to start handing out contracts and making people sign contracts in order to be a part of the promotion, like Jerry Lynn had to sign a year-long contract in order to get, back on TNA. But if they're going to do that, then they should start paying people, the top-notch stuff that like WWE will pay you.
Well, that's the thing, though.
We're going to offer Buff Bagwell $100,000 a year, and that's for Buff Bagwell. So if TNA want to acquire somebody for every Wednesday night of the year, like no questions asked, then they're going to have to pay them for basically more than just every Wednesday of the week. They're going to have to pay them for a few days worth, in a sense, to pay them like triple costs, because by stopping people from going like to Japan.
But look at what WWE gets for their money. They get to put a guy on the road for how many days a year? And they get to, that's them, that's theirs. And they get to charge $25 for a t-shirt and pay the guy 8 cents on it. They get to make a lot of money with these guys. TNA, because of their viewership, is not going to be as much of a profit. So you can't afford to pay them $100,000 a year. Now, I would love, if I had $1 billion, I would gladly give Jerry Lynn $100,000 a year to work for me. I'd give him $1 million a year to work for me. If he's going to go out there and give the effort that I know he's capable of every night, I would pay any price tag he said to me. Because I think he's about it in this business.
I agree. And a few other people I'd agree and put that in that sort of category as well. But by the same token, if they're going to make guys, miss out on Japanese tours, which will earn them a lot of money, and earning money is something that only a few of the top-notch indie guys do on a consistent basis. If they're going to say to people like CM Punk, we're going to Japan where you'll make this amount of money, you're going to stay with us and just make, say, 1/4 of the amount of money you could have made in Japan, then they should what does word looking for?
Consolidate?
No.
Consummate, no, I haven't.
Compromise, no, not
Compromise.
Compensate.
There we go.
God, sounds stupid. They should compensate the guys for it. But
I agree with you. They should pay him what he was going to be paid in Japan, maybe.
yeah. Exactly. And if Punk turns around and says, nah, sorry, I'm going to Japan because I'm going to make a lot more money over there, then TNA should say, okay, fair enough. We can't pay you the same as they can in Japan. If Punk gave the notice that he has to give, because obviously they have to give 4 weeks notice to go to Japan, if they're under the TNA contract. If he gave the notice...
At the same rate, though, they are involved in a heavy storyline right now.
Yeah, true.
And next week, the return of the hardcore legend Terry Funk will happen on TNA because of it. So, obviously, if it would have kept it out for next week as well, next week will be a big event when they have Terry Funk come in. Now, they can't keep beating the Sandman so readily easily. Otherwise, they're going to make him look pretty weak.
Yeah, but...
or anything else. I know they had done a Kiss parody in ECW that I had seen, which was funny. But, the movie's not funny anymore. Somebody needs to tell him that. He's not funny unless he's fat and shakes his belly.
Poor me. Nah, I agree. And he's lost a lot of weight, so it's commendable how much weight he's lost.
Yes, it is. It is. Not too much.
It's to the detriment of his wrestling draw power.
Which is, it's insane. Wrestling only wants you if you're fat to the point that you're a health risk.
Such as Yokozuna. I was reading a thread the other day about the biggest draw in UK wrestling in the last 10 years, not 12 years or so. And the two people that came up were obviously, number one, British Bulldog, obviously drew absolutely huge when he came over here a long time ago. And it just carried on the morbid theme. The other one was Yokozuna, who came over here 10 plus years ago. More, a long time ago, put it that way. He came over. And he only came over here because he was so overweight that they wouldn't let him wrestle in America. So, I wasn't he drew that much, but he did apparently, so...
Well, poor guy.
Anyway, that's about that.
I miss Yokozuna.
Yeah, he was... still got the article on his death. So they ran in the UK newspaper. Got that at home somewhere.
I feel bad for him. He was a good worker. For his size especially. I think he was underused in the WWF. Even though he got to beat Hogan. I mean, after that he didn't really do much, though.
With apparently, like with the British Bulldog, they were thinking of a return for him at the time of death, but obviously...
When did that, 1999? 2000?
No, I'd imagine it'd be about then, yeah.
Well, it had to be after 1999 because he did that Heroes of Wrestling pay-per-view.
Did he?
Which was in... I think it was in October or November of 1999.
Oh.
So he must have died, it might have been early 2000, it wasn't long after that.
Well, I know that they were thinking about the return for him then, if he could slim down a bit more, but obviously he couldn't, and didn't, and obviously passed away, same as British Bulldog. They were thinking of a return for him at the time, they had a meeting scheduled to return and everything. Funny the way the world works. But, anyway, that's TNA, and we'll talk about upcoming guests on the show. We've just had Steve Carino on in the past interview. Steve's Blackman on this interview. We thank Steve coming on and wish him luck in his future endeavours, including with his neck, etc. Appreciate that. Upcoming for our 1-year anniversary show, Shane Douglas, and we'll try and, as James said at the beginning of this recap, try and get a couple of other things, sorted out for that. Also upcoming, we've got in the can Johnny Swinger interview, April Hunter interview, and a Mike Shaw interview. Mike Shaw, also known as Bastion Booger in the past.
And Norman the Lunatic, Norman the Lunatic, yes. For those of the NWA fans.
And we have interviews coming up scheduled. Of course, we're going to record the Shane Douglas one pretty soon.
Hopefully,
with luck. And we have an interview scheduled with Kevin Sullivan.
With fear in our hearts and spinach in our teeth.
I so didn't hear that. So, of course, we've got all those ones in the can all ready to go up, etc. There's probably more as well. that, I haven't heard, haven't thought of off the top of my head right now. Well, there is one, definitely, that I've just thought of right now. Doug Williams.
Yes, indeed.
One of the UK's finest stars, of course.
And I think somewhere in my room is like a 2-month-old interview with Scott Shawn.
Oh, of course, Scott Shawn.
I have to find that tape.
My days, we haven't put that one up either. Oh dear, we're gonna have to stop recording interviews. We've got too many done.
We also have Easy Money coming up on Thursday.
Oh yes, of course. Can't forget that.
I might reschedule him, by the way.
Why is that?
Just because you just said you might not be available.
That's true, yeah. I'm kind of not around when, but
He never said a time. Oh, screw it. I'll call him the day before.
Breaking news to the fans. And I'm also trying to set up an interview with Chris Hero, because I know a couple of people want an interview with him, so...
Yeah, and I've been trying to appease some of the fans that have been submitting requests.
Mm-hmm.
I had looked into one of the requests somebody made about a month ago was Skandar Akbar. So I went in and I emailed him, and it appears as though we're going to be in contact with him in the next coming 2 weeks. So if we get a hold of him and he's interested in doing it, we might have General Skandar Akbar on the show.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah. You probably have no idea who he is, do you?
I have a rough idea.
Okay.
I have a very rough idea. But we kind of maybe throw him up there with like a Mike Shaw and then Skandar Akbar in 2 following weeks of people who haven't really been heard of a hell of a lot in interview time at least in the past year or so. This is 2 sort of explosives in a row, per se. And maybe just before then we put another one in with a guy who has had WWE experience recently, if we can get him.
Who's that?
You know who I'm talking about. That's a name, though.
Oh, okay.
Him.
The man of a really strange voicemail message.
Yes, definitely. Very strange. Nice guy. Apparently. So I've heard. So Steve Clear says. Yeah, so those are the upcoming interviews on the show, confirmed and unconfirmed and riddled. Hopefully, coming in the future. This has been...
Kevin Sullivan will booked again, by the way. Did you say him?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Okay, then.
I believe after I said Kevin Sullivan, you started rambling for a couple of minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is a little surprise for our friend Motley Crue on the 3SW forums. I'm going to play some new Motley Crue. What do you think?
It'll definitely be one I haven't heard before, so...
Reasonably new, anyway.
Yeah.
Their newest. So enjoy yourself, Mr. Motley, and please post feedback if you're hearing this.